Welcome back to His and Hers Movie Podcast. This is episode number 56, featuring a review of the Japanese experimental action samurai film called Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1. And we'll get to that a little bit later, but first, I am one half of your hosting duo, JP, podcasting on this March 6, 2021, Saturday, actually, and joining me tonight is Carly. We're both podcasting out of Southwest PA. Hope you guys are enjoying us back. I think we took a little bit of a break here. St. Maud posted a little while ago, and it feels like we haven't recorded in a really long time, but we had some scheduling issues, so we're back now.
Yes, we are back. And I've watched quite a bit of movies, I feel, since we last recorded. Have you?
Not quite a bit, but I've watched
Thank God.
More than last time.
Right. But yeah, so we are back. It is now March, and what's been going on with you?
I've just been really, busy lately. I don't know, I've been, focusing on work and stuff, and had a few different problems come up in life that really stressed me out, so I hadn't been watching a bunch of stuff, and then I was kind of just focused on other things. I feel a little bit better now, so my uptick has started a little bit. There was a week there, I think I watched 6 movies in 18 days or something like that.
That's crazy.
Which is horrible for me, who averages one a day pretty much.
Yeah.
Even in February, my February pretty much nosedived. I ended up with 27 films in February.
Mm-hmm.
When the month started, and I was pretty much hitting 2 a day for the first part of the month. So yeah, between the 19th and 28th, I watched 6 movies.
Yes, that is quite pathetic, buddy. But sometimes you need to take a break anyway from movie watching, so it happens. I feel I kind of slowed down a little bit, but then, because I was kind of busy for a while too, but I feel like I'm back to watching one pretty much every night. Last night I tried to watch 2, but I fell asleep halfway through at the 1 because I am an old man. But, yeah, movie watching, my new job's going well, and I'm trying to think if I've really done anything exciting. I don't think that I have. I recorded a horror hunting video the other day. That was fun. That was last weekend that I did that, and went to a few different thrift stores, different ones that I'd never been to, and I've come to the conclusion that there's nothing good around here, and it's depressing, but whatever. I found a few things here and there, and that was that. You and I, yesterday, we kind of bought a few moves from an adventure that we went on, and that was fun, but other than that, nothing really exciting, I don't think, has happened in my life. Pretty boring. Glad it's finally sunny out and not dreary and snowing. That's one
Yeah,
thing.
I definitely had a case of the seasonal depressions. I always feel better. This is gonna sound weird, but when bad stuff happens in my life, it feels worse when it's in the winter.
Yeah. No, that doesn't sound weird. I think it just makes it all the more gloomy, because you get horrible news and you look outside and it's all shitty out, so it's tops it off. But yeah, I think it's still freezing out, but it's actually sunshiny out and sky's nice and blue, so I am happy about that. And I think it's supposed to be nice this coming week, so I am happy about that as well, and I hope that the snow does not come back, because in Pennsylvania the snow sometimes comes back with a vengeance, and I don't want that to happen, because it's been a pretty rough winter, honestly. But yeah, that is That is all I have to say on that matter. That is all I have to say on that matter.
What is that place you went to that had the fangos?
That was, I don't even know what it was called. It was in the Washington Mall, which Washington is an area around us, about 40 minutes away from where we live, and, it was inside there. It was like a collectible store. They had a little bit of everything. They kind of specialized in trains and, like, you know, model trains and model cars. That was kind of their big thing. So I went in there thinking, like, all they're gonna have is that and, like, comic books probably, but they actually had a section of movies, and mainly horror movies, and it was nice because they coordinated them to be, here's the horror section, here's the drama section, here's the comedy section, so it wasn't a pain to look through them, and they had a pretty decent selection. I bought a few things there, and then the fangos were kind of hidden away because I went to check out, and the guy had to go get another guy to check me out because he wasn't responsible for that, so I was waiting there, and I turned around, and the fangos were, like, underneath the shelf.
How many
just
was
kind of
there?
sprawled around. There weren't that many. There was probably like 5 whenever I went, so I don't know if they would have more than that, but at least that's what it seemed like. They had, because they had those, and of course they had like other ones like Rue Morgue and the other basic horror magazines, so I just grabbed one. They were $3 a piece, so it wasn't too bad. That's about
going rate.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget what the place was actually called, but it was inside of a mall, and I wasn't expecting, I just went in that mall expecting to find nothing, because it's kind of one of those, much like a lot of malls, one of those ones that's fading and doesn't have much excitement to it, but I went to the whole end of the store, and it was like way at the end at the food court area, so I was like, ooh, cool, yay. But
yeah.
That was the most exciting thing for me.
I just bought probably 4 or 5 Fangorias.
From where? Online? Or?
Yeah. They were about $3 to $4 a piece. But I grabbed I think I grabbed 5 or 6 of them. I grabbed January 2005, February 2005, March 2005. And then I want to say that one of the ones I couldn't get. The one with the Devil's Rejects on the cover, I couldn't get. That was like mid 2005. But then I think I got 6 of the. I think there was 10 that came out in 2005, and I think I didn't get like the last 4 because it was like after shipping it came to like $24 or something like that, and I kind of wanted to stay in that price range. But I figured I'd buy those ones this month, and then next month I'll buy the other ones. And then I'll read those, because I started reading the January issue online. In fact, I'm almost done with it. And it actually got me more into wanting to do 05. Like, there was a big write-up on the White Noise film, and I was like, I'm about to watch White Noise, because, like, it was kind of neat, you know, that they were talking about it when it was it was about to come out, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, it was neat, and it made me want to watch. And like, there's Land of the Dead on one of them and stuff like that. And like, some of the films are like, they put Doom on one of them, which is like stupid. I think Blade is on one of them. That was 2004. But it's funny to see what they pick to put on there. But the Devil's Rejects issue makes sense that one sold out.
Yeah.
I don't know what that one goes for, like, in terms of online. I know some of the this it's going for like $40, which is a little bit expensive. Like, I'm not gonna pay that for it, honestly.
No, yeah.
Honestly, the Fangos I used to buy them a while back, like here and there, like the old issues, like just stuff that I like. The covers were cool and stuff. And some of the issues, like, are going for, like, a lot more money. Like, the first issue was going for, like, I want to say, like, $15. Now it's going for, like, $80 or something. Like, issue number 1. This was a few years ago when I was, like, picked them up online. So the prices have, like, skyrocketed since Jeremy collected the line.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think the one I got is from 2001. It has Sadako on it from Ring, and the main article was like, here's all the Japanese horror films coming to America, or something like that. So it's pretty cool. I haven't even looked through it yet. I kind of forgot about it. I put it in my horror room and like didn't actually browse through it, but now I want to. So maybe after the show or later on tonight, I shall dig into it, because I like reading old stuff from the past, especially about a topic that I'm interested in. So that will be cool. I think I have one other Fangoria that I think you and I found whenever we went to that drive-in and we were browsing around in our free time. I forget which one that is though, but they're cool to collect when you find them.
Yeah.
So.
Now I'm bummed because I'm gonna have to try to find this 245. Because now I'll have all of them from 2005 after, like, next month, but I won't have 245, and that's gonna bother me.
Right.
But I figured that would be cool. Like when we get, I never thought to do that, but when we get like a year show, to try to pick up some Fangos. But now it kind of disheartened me a little bit because I'm like, man, some of these like 80s years are so expensive now. Like before it was like the most expensive Fangoria was like $15. Now like it's like not, and that kind of bummed me out a little bit. So I don't know if I'm gonna continue doing that if we get like 84 or something.
Yeah, I couldn't justify spending a ton of money on a magazine, but that's why for me it's just cool to find them in a collectible store or something like that for cheap. But
I mean,
whatever.
Jeremy got his whole run for very cheap.
Yeah, he got lucky with all that.
I need to get one of those magazine cases that he has though, because like I just have them everywhere.
Yeah, me too.
And they're like actually kind of getting damaged and stuff just being out.
Bloody.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to grab one of those.
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to mention this too. If you guys remember, okay, so I was thinking about this, right? And I'm like, okay, all these movies are coming to like Paramount Plus and like everything, all of them. And it's like we don't cover streaming on this show, but it's like we're gonna have to cover streaming on this show because everything's coming out on pluses and stuff like that, you know? And even like I don't know, dude, I wanted to go to the theater and see Tom and Jerry just to support it.
Yeah.
Even though like I don't know, I heard that it wasn't really that good, but I do love Tom and Jerry. Like Tom and Jerry is classic dope shit. But I don't know
got Chloe Grace Moretz in it.
Yeah, so that too. I wanted to support it. I don't know, like, if I'm ever going to have time to go to these damn drive-ins or these theaters anymore, dude, because I'm always working.
Yes.
And, like, we're recording the podcast. So it's like, but then I thought, okay, well, we're almost done with the podcast. We only have a month left. Well, not a month, 2 months. 2 months and 1 week. No, exactly 2 months, because 1 week is passed already. And we do have, like, a couple of weeks off. Like, I think I'm off April 23rd and 30th of the show, and the 2nd of April. Ooh. So, literally only 2 shows in April, and then 1 in May, which is the 05 show. And then March is booked up. We have all of March booked. But that's only, what, 4, 5, 6, 7 more shows until September.
Right, yes.
So I'm going to have a lot more. My Fridays are essentially going to be free. But I might change my day off, I don't know, just to, like, alleviate some other people who always work Fridays. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna probably try to go to the movies again. But the thing I was thinking about is, like, do we bring Shudder and Chill back?
I don't know, buddy.
Or do we change this to that? and like morph it, like everybody said, and just allow us to cover anything on this.
I mean, I almost feel like at this point it would be easier if we morphed it. What?
Yeah.
I just feel like, because then I feel like we'll bring Shudder and Chill back, and we like, you know, we barely have time for this, and I feel like that'll get all screwy too with the scheduling, and we'll end up like not going through with Shudder and Chill.
I feel like I need to take the thumbnail from Shudder and Chill then and change it to his and hers, because like that thumbnail I think fits and I like it.
Yeah, you should. I do like that thumbnail. It's a good thumbnail. It is the best.
Yeah, I think that like if I had more time, I would love to do Shudder and Chill weekly, just because I do like covering those streaming films because it helps me. But yeah, I think at this point, with just the way things are, it's like we tried to hold off on doing streaming things because we were like, you know, that's not what this show is. This show is about like new films in the theater, but like literally we created this show for that and started the pandemic. Like, so we created the pandemic essentially.
Nobody. But yeah, I mean, the pandemic did happen, yes. But we didn't do it, I swear.
Yeah, we're going to need to, I think we're going to break that rule and allow streaming movies on here going forward. And that's, you know, essentially what everybody told us to do was to merge the shows. Well, first they said to just have a segment, but no, we're not watching two movies for this. But yeah, we'll probably do that. We'll just allow ourselves to do, you know,
whatever.
Yeah, and maybe recycle that thumbnail. I don't know. We could change that thumbnail from Shudder and Chill or Netflix and Chill to His and Hers Movie Podcast.
Yeah.
It's possible. And yeah, I mean, there's all these like Paramount Plus and like HBO Max. It's just like everything, like, dude, everything's coming out through those. And I did notice that like a little bit of good news was the Tom and Jerry film that got released. I don't know if you caught this or not. You probably didn't because you don't really pay attention to this stuff. But it did good at the box office.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really did.
Cool.
You would consider it a pandemic hit, at least that I would, you know. I think it made like, what did it make? Like 14 million opening weekend, which, you know, it isn't great. It isn't like, you know, a $50 million opening, but that doesn't happen anymore, you know.
Yeah.
It was only in 2,475 theaters, and yeah, it you know, came in at number 1, 14 million on opening weekend, and I think it's still doing stuff.
Yeah.
It made Tom and Jerry made 14.1 last weekend. I don't think they updated. Yeah, there was the second highest pandemic opening. It's so crazy. Second highest opening of the pandemic era.
Stupid.
You know, it's kind of crazy, dude. Like, me and Jeremy were talking about this a little bit. Yeah, Wonder Woman 84 made $16.7 million. But that's expected out of that movie. You know what I mean? It was a big film that everybody wanted to see for a really long time. And it was over Christmas weekend. I'd say Tom and Jerry, making only $3 million less than that, outperformed Wonder Woman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, like, that type of movie makes me think that parents are starting to willing to find things for their kids to do again. Because you figure that movie made that off of parents taking their kids to see it. So, and it also, keep in mind, it was on HBO Max at home. So having that dual release and it's still doing well, it makes me slightly hopeful that it's possible that we could go back to cinemas soon. After that happened, A Quiet Place 2, which we know is a Paramount film, moved its release date from September to May. So it moved up.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time we've seen a release date move up?
About a year ago. Over probably 2 years. Never.
Yeah.
Because this never happened.
But so that's pretty good. Just when I was about to give up, and like me and Jeremy were talking, because he's like really the only other person who truly cares about cinemas. It feels like that is me, that like we both really care about it. And he was, we were both like really down, and we're like, it's over, bro. Like we think that this is like gonna just end now. Just when we were like right there, this happens, and it gave us a little bit of hope. But then also, the Alamo Drafthouse chain filed for bankruptcy like the same week. So
I have no idea what that is.
Alamo Drafthouse. It's like there's primarily like I think Southern. What the hell was that?
The dryer. I was drying clothes. I am so sorry.
The Alamo Drafthouse is primarily like Southern theater chain. They were kind of more like an indie art house theater. I know Joe Bob has hosted movies at some of them and stuff like that and things like that. So it was like cool, but
yeah.
It doesn't affect us particularly because we don't have any near us.
Yeah.
But that was kind of sad, But I've heard people talk crap on those too, so
Well, this girl I work with actually, she was talking about, she was upset. She was like, I wanted to go see Tom and Jerry. It was like last Friday. She was like, I wanted to see Tom and Jerry in the theater with my husband and kids, but he's like, it's on HBO Max, and we can stay home and watch it. And I'm like gritting my teeth, like, oh yeah.
I would have told her, I was like, you should support the theaters.
Well, then, she was like, and don't get me wrong, I know that's like cheaper and everything, but she was like, but it's the experience of seeing it on the big screen. And the fact that she said that made me redeem the inner rage I was having about it. Yes, so I thought that was cool to see not a crazy movie fan like say that, because that gave me hope that other people enjoy going to the theater still and not just us idiots. So, but yeah, I mean, that's cool. I do hope that that was a good shimmer of light and that we see things like A Quiet Place 2 and all these other movies start to come back and get things more booming. Because, I've been to the theater a few times, but it's just, there's really nothing out that's worth seeing, really, right now. So it's hard to really keep going out and supporting, and it sucks. But I wanted to bring up that I defeated copyright.
Okay.
Yes. So, someone tried to do us wrong on YouTube, and they gave us a copyright strike, and it was all like on the Craft Legacy show. So now that leaves a bad taste in my mouth for that move. But someone filed for copyright claim, and we got a thing that was like, you have to take copyright school, or you shall repent against this. And that's not the right word. I was like, no, we did not copyright anything. As a matter of fact, the move is not included in the pod. So I repealed it, and then I messaged the jerk who copyrighted it, and I was like, hey, sir, I did it in a very passive-aggressive way. I was like, as you know, the video we posted it was only a pod, if you would have listened. And it's not the movie at all. All we did was use a picture of the move as the thumbnail. There's no music or any clips whatsoever of the move in this pod. And the dude's like, send me a link to it so I could see what you mean. And I'm like, well, I can't. Here's a link to the deleted video that is now removed from YouTube because you got it deleted. And that was the end of that.
That was my favorite part, where it's like, send me a link, and it's like, as you know, I can't because the video was taken down.
Right. I sent him like 2 links of like that said deleted content, and I'm like, what do you want? Like, it doesn't exist anymore. But anyway, that whatever person, bot, whatever, did not reply, and then YouTube was like, congratulations, you have won, you are not copyrighted, and the moral of the story is I won and defeated the copyright.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to share.
That's like, reminds me of the time I defeated the cats.
You didn't defeat cats, ever.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. You didn't do anything.
Yes, I did.
Everybody.
Anyway, so, yeah, that was cool, man. I didn't feel like dealing with it. I was like, here, deal with this.
Right.
I mean, I've dealt with copyright on my YouTube channel and stuff like that, so I've done it before, but I was just like, you know, I figured you could handle it.
Right,
and you did. You did well, young Jedi.
Thanks, Little John. But I was nervous because I was thinking, I've never dealt with that, and I thought, like, and it's all like, if you repeal this and you're wrong, you could go to prison. And I'm like, oh! But there was no reason to do that. The guy clearly, whoever did that clearly
sometimes
just
it's
saw,
auto done, like, you know what I mean? But
still.
It could just because it was around the same length as the movie, and they just thought we uploaded the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, of all episodes, it was The Craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like something I don't even want to die on the battlefield trying to defend, but
yeah,
it was annoying because it was one of our podcasts was then missing from the YouTube, and then I didn't want to have a strike and then get the channel removed. But everything is okay now. I'm behind on I'm behind by 2 episodes on uploading to the YouTube.
What are you doing?
But let me explain. Dark Discussions has been like kind of down, and today it was like back up, but you couldn't download the show, and I think Philip had posted something about that, so I haven't been able to download them. So I go on there and I'm like, hell yeah, an excuse for me not to do this. But no, I will get them up as soon as everything's cool with the site and I can download the eps. Yeah. And I'm so sorry.
Okay, what else? Oh, I wanted to bring up one more topic before we get into the things we watched. Okay. So, do you remember in last summer when we met that girl from our area at a place that wasn't our area?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were in... Where were we? We were in Mahoning. Which is almost like closer to Philadelphia than it is anywhere near us. What is it, like 5.5 hours away?
Yeah.
And we were in line waiting to meet Felissa Rose, and we met these 2 girls, and it was just eerie and weird, and I just had a feeling. I don't know if I had seen these people before or something, but I had a feeling the entire time they were like from our area, and I don't know why. That's such a weird feeling to have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it really was just like a hunch. So I think I honestly think I had to have seen them before, like in my, like we had to have seen them at like the Hollywood Theater or something, you know what I mean? And just like that image of them in my brain, or like like in Hot Topic or something, you know what I mean? Just like somewhere their image of who they were existed in my brain and my memory bank of like faces. You know how they say like you can't just create faces in your head?
Yeah,
It's all taken from people you've seen before. It was like something like that, you know?
Right.
And they had mentioned something about where they were from to someone else, and I was like, wait, did you say this town or whatever? And they were like, yeah. And then we found out that they literally are like, one of them was, the other one's a little bit further, but one of them was literally in a town that is probably 15 minutes away from where you live.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was cool. Anyway, so we talked a little bit. I think we exchanged Instagrams.
Yeah.
But I'm in like a bunch of groups on Facebook, you know, horror groups, and I start seeing this girl she probably posted all the time, but I just started noticing her because I had met her, and this Mia girl, and she posted in one of these horror groups, and they, like, you know, she's a very pretty girl, and she posted a picture of her holding like a VHS, like a little selfie thing and stuff, and these guys were fucking brutal on her, man. Like, they're just saying, like, calling her like an attention, you know, basically an attention seeker, and like all this stuff, and they're just really nasty. I mean, there was a lot of really nice comments too, and there was a lot of really thirsty comments too, you know. So it was like, but a lot of the girls in the group defended her and stuff, which I thought was cool. But anyway, the homie Kyle commented on there and basically said, like, this post brought out all the simps in this group or something. And I was like, yo, dog, I met this girl. She was really nice at a drive-in. And then she saw that comment. She commented and said, you know, like, oh, in the line to meet Felissa, like, hey, how you doing and stuff. And we started talking, and I let her know about the Riverside drive-in that's also having Felissa, that's a lot closer than the Mahoning drive-in. So I reconnected with that line buddy that we had, and so we might be able to meet her again in April, which is pretty cool because
in a line to meet Felissa.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's pretty dope, man. I thought that was cool. I like meeting people that are into this stuff we're into around us.
Yeah, and then I think the reason that we caught on that they were from here is they said something about their drive-in playing classic movies, and the one was like, yeah, we actually have a drive-in in our town, and we were like, we do too, and they were like, yeah, it's the Brownsville drive-in or something, and it was just so strange because they've probably been there before, you know, you could have maybe seen them there, and they've probably been to the mall and stuff, like, we probably have, like, passed by them before and not even known it, but, yeah, that'd be cool if they show up to the Riverside, because I think we might have asked them if they'd ever been there, and I feel like they said no, so that'd be cool if they go there. But yes, we need more horror friends. If anyone would like to be our friend, please tell us.
Yeah, please apply down below.
Right.
You must like horror.
Yes, nothing else. No action.
No Crazy Samurai versus 400 versus 2.
No, what? No, buddy. It's 400. It's Crazy Samurai 400 versus 1.
Okay. And no whining.
Yes, we don't like whiners.
Yeah, no whiners.
Be cool. Just be a cool person.
No, the sky's falling.
What? Yeah.
No fat people.
Buddy.
What?
You're fat.
I know, I want to be the only one. No, I'm just kidding.
No, what did you call me earlier? A skinny, ugly prick?
No, I never said that.
Oh, you said something like that. But none of those. I want to be the only one.
Okay, but no, I'm just kidding. No, no people who hate VHS and crack and smash them.
Yes. Right.
Looking at you, Christian.
Yeah. We hate Christian.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to talk about. You got any other topics?
I do not. I think we need to get into what we have watched and make it a quickie.
How many do you have?
Let's see. I have 1, 2. Wait, let me see. Hold on. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like 12.
Okay. Whose turn is it? Yours? Mine? Yours? Mine?
I felt like it was yours.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so, what?
I said right, it is fine. Because I said so.
Shut up. Okay, let's see here. You threw me off because I thought it was your turn. Okay, so
if you want to see my turn, I'll take a turn.
The first, and wow, this is going back to like the 18th which is crazy. So we haven't recorded in a while.
Yeah.
The first film that I watched there was for a upcoming What We Watched episode for 22 Shots. It's called Trouble Every Day, which is from 2001. It's what Jeremy considers to be like sort of one of the starting founding fathers of the French extreme new wave, which is, you know, films like Martyrs and Inside and High Tension, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So Trouble Every Day, kind of a weird one. It's actually mostly in English, which is funny because it's a French film. There is like sections of French, but a lot of it is English, and it's definitely has some of those like extreme elements to it. It's a bit slower. It essentially has like this weird concept of like this sick person and this like hint that this like brain study disease thing kind of is, it's like almost like this infection thing. It's pretty nasty. In one scene, there's like really one scene that makes it a like a French extreme film. This review, sex cannibal food pyramid, and it says pussy literally. It's like the whole pyramid is just pussy, and then it says literally. It's so ridiculous. But it's so stupid. But yeah, I thought it was okay. I felt like I was missing some themes that were going on, and I was like, what is this movie about? Like, what is the director saying? I think it's a female director. Yeah, Claire Denis. And yeah, it was definitely a cool experience for like a early French extreme film. You know, 2001's pretty early. I think High Tension was the next one in 2003. But definitely a interesting viewing experience, but I didn't love it. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Cool.
And then next up is Bad Reputation, which I started talking about in the last one, right?
Yeah.
I never finished it.
You fell asleep.
I was hating it. I did end up liking it overall. I do think that every single character in the movie is a complete scumbag, which it's to the point where it feels unrealistic, so it makes you kind of like not invested. But at the same time, like, I kind of did, like, I don't know, I like the theme of, like, everybody calling this girl a slut, so she, like, starts acting like a slut, but then, like, killing people, you know? That was kind of cool. So, I like that about it. The acting was a bit rough, and the performances, like, I really couldn't stand the mother, dude. The mother was horrible, just so unrealistic and stuff, but I did end up liking the movie overall. So I ended up giving it like a 6 out of 10, maybe a 5.5. I did come up heavily, because I was sitting at like a 4 or 3.5, like when I was first talking about it.
Right. Hate hair.
So that was a Survive 05. Then I watched The Faculty with the boys, 22 Shots crew, me, Dave, Jeremy. We did a commentary on it. I'm actually having a hard time uploading that commentary, which kind of sucks. Also, speaking of that, the Faculty commentary, I gave away a copy of Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1 on there. And I'm actually giving away another copy on the next episode of 22 Shots, which is the Category 3 show. And all you have to do is comment on that show. So if you're listening to this, go comment on the Category 3 show on Moods' YouTube channel, and you could win a copy of Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1. I'm not sure why you would want it. But excuse me. The Faculty commentary, that should come up soon. I am having trouble uploading it because the file's so huge. So I'm trying to figure out an alternative for a video file that is, you know, essentially the movie. which is you're not supposed to upload to the internet. But I am putting a disclaimer that I'm saying, like, hey, by clicking this, you're agreeing that you own the movie. Because most people do. I own it. You own it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I have it.
And then I'll probably have the audio released too, just as the audio, but yeah, so what else? The Faculty, yeah, love that movie. It's a body snatching film. It's done almost perfectly. Love the time and the tone and the setting. And even Moods likes this movie a lot, which typically he doesn't like the floating head era, meta-y, Kevin Williamson-y type films. But he even likes this one a lot. It's probably one of his favorite. But yeah, I give that like a 9 out of 10. It only gets better every time I watch it. And then we get into the Cat 3 stuff. Do you know what Category 3 is, Carly?
No.
Category 3 is the rating system in Hong Kong. And it's kind of like Video Nasties, but not at the same time. Like, Video Nasties were more about, like, these films are banned. Like, nobody can see them. While Category 3 is essentially like our NC-17. It's like a rating for nobody under 18 admitted, you know?
Yeah.
And it was created in the early 90s, I want to say, and they retroactively marked a couple of films from the 80s and 70s Category 3, but the majority of, like, the films that got the Cat 3 rating came out in the 90s. And you have essentially a bunch of these movies that were released under Category 3, and we reviewed 3 of them. And the 3 that we reviewed were pretty cool because they all starred Anthony Wong. And Anthony Wong is the lead in Ebola Syndrome, which I know you've seen.
Right. I watched that with my buddy.
Yeah. Early days when we first met each other.
Yes. Good times.
Yeah. We met each other and I show you Ebola Syndrome.
Yes.
That's how I knew you were a keeper.
Yeah. I am the best. That was like when I first got my own apartment. So it was like one of our first times hanging out at my own apartment.
Right.
So, yes, great impression.
That was when we were prepping for 1996.
Yes, but I wasn't involved because you didn't let me know that you had pods. Actually, no, you did. But
yeah, no, I did.
Yeah, about time.
Okay, so what are we doing?
Category 3.
Category 3. So. Yeah, Category 3, the first film I watched for that is The Untold Story, recently released by Unearthed Films, and this movie is pretty awesome. It follows a dude who's running a restaurant, and he's like pretty much a piece of shit, and he's killing people and serving them up into pork buns, which is an Asian dish, and people are eating them, and he's raping people, and there's a police investigation like sort of looking into him. It has like a definite 90s feel, but it's like a little bit different because it's like obviously Hong Kong and not America. But there is some like American elements to it where you're like, man, this feels like the culture of America is sort of not infiltrated, but I think like the Hong Kong culture like takes some of America culture in a weird way, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think that the movie looks great on the Blu-ray too, because and that's the thing with the Category 3 films, like a lot of them don't have releases here, or they have releases like overseas, and a lot of those releases are cut, so it's like it's really hard to see these films uncut until they get like a really good release. Like Untold Story got a really great release from Unearthed Films. We're hoping that Unearthed Films can release more of the Category 3 films in good formats and stuff, and it was cool, dude. Like this is a great movie, and I believe that episode is out now, so I guess I could say this, but if you haven't heard that episode, and you know, spoilers, like skip ahead a little bit, but that film actually makes it in the 22 Shots Hall, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, so 1993, which there's not a whole lot of movies from the 90s in the 22 Shots Hall, let me tell you this.
Right.
But it's a good movie, and it's crazy, and it's weird, and, you know, it's violent and disgusting. It's like, it really is like Ebola Syndrome without the Ebola. It's pretty much the same movie, but it came out first. So yeah, I think I gave that one like an 8.5, which is a lower rating for a film that's in the hall. You know what I mean? But Moods and Dave came in really high on that. And then we have Ebola Syndrome from 1996, and that movie is, you've seen it. It's just as crazy as when we seen it. It's really good. Anthony Wong is a huge piece of shit in this one. He plays the same character in Untold Story, essentially. He's disgusting. He basically gets Ebola by raping a woman in Africa, like in the jungle of Africa. You know what I mean? And she's dying. She's dying of Ebola syndrome, and he rapes her like at the foot of a like pond.
Right.
And he gets Ebola and brings it back to South Africa, like the city, and then he goes over to Hong Kong, and he's essentially just fucking destroying the world. Which is crazy, you know, like Ebola syndrome, 1996, you know.
Yeah, that was a big thing back in like a few years ago.
Right, yeah, back in like 2013, 14. Like,
yeah.
And I told that story on the show. We did that the 96 show in like 2013 or 14, and people, I remember when we were prepping, like Brandon and, you know, Moods or something was talking about Ebola syndrome, and I was like, what? I was like, there's a movie called Ebola Syndrome from the, I was like, is it this about like the Ebola syndrome that's happening right now? And they're like, yeah, and I was like, well, that existed back then? But apparently it did. It existed before then, I think, but, you know, it was like, it wasn't as, it was interesting that we were getting like a huge problem with it around the time that we were recording for that show, but that movie came out like 96. It was neat. Yeah, so that was that movie's awesome too. I gave that one an 8.5 as well. And then we have the Untold Story 2 from 1998, which is not really a sequel. Anthony Wong's in this one too, but he plays a different character. He's actually like a good guy in this one. But it essentially is another story about a woman who, it's like a guy runs a restaurant, and then his wife is kind of mean to him, and her cousin comes and visits, and her cousin is like crazy and murders people, and again, it's like the same thing, like killing people, putting them in food, crazy stuff ensues. But it's like the woman is the bad guy in this one, and I thought it was a pretty cool thing. It's not as good as the other two that I mentioned, but it's still pretty fun, and I gave that one like a 7 out of 10. There is an Untold Story 3, but I hear that it's not very good, and we didn't cover that for that. But that was our Category 3 show. I actually had a ton of fun doing that one, and I want to do a volume 2 because there's a ton of Category 3 films. You've even seen a Category 3 film, I'm pretty sure. Besides Ebola Syndrome, which is, because, like, they're still being made today. Like, I think some of the early 2000 Hong Kong films, like Dumplings, I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
Oh, yes, I watched that for the summer series. Yeah,
that is a Category 3.
I see. Cool. Good move.
But really, the heyday of Category 3 is like the 90s right there, like up to like 98.
Yeah.
Okay. So after that, I watched Hide and Seek. I did a double feature of some 2005 movies. I was telling you that I was reading some Fangorias, and they mentioned the White Noise film, and I was like, man, I kind of want to check that out. I did pick up Blu-ray at some point. I don't know where I grabbed it, but I did pick it up recently, so I watched that, and Hide and Seek, which I picked up on DVD. Hide and Seek is about Robert De Niro. His wife commits suicide. He has a young daughter, and he's raising her in like a new area. I think he's like a psychologist or something? He's like something like that.
Yeah, he is.
She starts developing this friendship with this dude named like Charlie or Ben or something. I can't remember his name.
Charlie, buddy.
Charlie. And it's like an invisible friend or like an imaginary friend.
Imaginary friend, buddy.
Yeah. And, you know, De Niro, basically, like, bad things start happening around him, you know, like blood on the walls written, like, you know, you did this or something like that. But, like, and he thinks his daughter's blaming him for the wife's death because who else could have did it? The daughter's blaming Charlie, and De Niro thinks, like, either A, my daughter's doing this stuff, or B, there's something else going on here with, like, a ghost or something like that, or whatever, and the audience is thinking that too. But then there's, like, the other possibility that there's, like, kind of a weird dude that's hanging around the area too. So you're like, you know, what's going on? It's a pretty good movie. I had, like, a couple of issues with it. De Niro is great in it, honestly. I mean, you expect him to be great in everything, but he is great in it. Mm-hmm. Kind of a little bit different of a role for him, too. And, yeah, I liked it. I saw there were 5 damn alternate endings on this thing, on the disc. I didn't watch a single one of them.
I didn't even know that. I should check those out.
Like, 5 that tells me you didn't know how to end the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then, Survive 05, White Noise. I was reading the Fango article about this, and I really like the concept there. You have this sort of man who loses his wife and, like, investigates into, like, white noises and, like, if she's contacting him. The only thing I'll say about it that, like, kind of annoyed me is, like, it's too much of a actual, like, it's too proven, if you know what I mean. Like, this guy contacts, you know, Michael Keaton's character and is like, hey, your wife spoke to me from beyond the dead. And he doesn't believe him, but then something happens, so he's like, okay, I'm going to believe him, and I'm going to go check this out. And then it's like, it's just factual that she's contacting him, you know what I mean? It's no debate. Like, it's just very obvious that there is her voice on stuff, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, if it was this easy, like, it wouldn't even be debatable if this was, like, a actual thing that's happening. Like, it would just be all over the news. Like, turns out we can contact the dead, you know what I mean?
Yes, I suppose.
What do you mean you suppose? Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like you're not listening.
No, I get what you're... Well, you won't listen. Wait until it's my turn. You won't be replying. I'll be like, hey, what do you think of this move? And it'll just be like, mute. Anyway, no, I do see what you're saying, buddy. It's
too obvious. Like, it's clearly dead people talking to other people. And it's like, if this really happened, people would be freaking out. And this guy would be like, I have proof of the dead. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, it just doesn't feel real. And that kind of is annoying. And then, it's like too much, too. It's like too obvious. It's like, it's just too easy. It's too easy, is what I'm saying.
I see.
But I don't know. I thought it was interesting, and I really liked Keaton's performance early on. I really felt bad for him when his wife disappears and stuff like that, and, like, you know, all of a sudden he's just like an unhappy dude, and everybody, like, kind of knows it, and they're like, you know, that's Michael Keaton over there, you know, be careful, he lost his wife, you know. You just get that vibe in the office and stuff like that, and yeah, I was into it, and then I was not into it later, and I think it's not a bad movie, but I don't think it's, like, great either, so I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I see, so you hate the move.
I didn't love it.
That sucks.
And then another double feature of 05 moves, we have Hellraiser Deader and Hellraiser Hellworld. Both came out in 05. Hellraiser Deader follows a chick who is a reporter, and she gets a lead on these people who are, like, killing themselves and then, like, not dying, and they're called Deaders, and she investigates this sort of, like, underground, weird, like, I guess, cult, and I honestly really like this movie. This is probably my favorite Hellraiser outside of the first three. It is. It's my favorite Hellraiser outside of the first three. I like it better than Bloodline. I like it better than Inferno. I like it better than Hellseeker, and I like it better than Hellworld and Judgment, probably, and Revelations. I think this is the best one.
Interesting.
There's some really good scenes in this. There's a scene where she goes to this like crappy apartment. I don't even know what country it is. It's like Romania or something. Is she supposed to be in another country? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Or it just looks like that. I'm pretty sure she's actually in another country. If she I can't remember. But she goes to this apartment, and it's disgusting, and there's this chick dead in the bathroom, and it's like this really creepy scene of her just like body like sitting there. And then there's like another fantastic scene, one of the best scenes in all of Hellraiser, where she wakes up with a knife stuck in her back, and it's like horrifying. And I actually really like this lead too. She's super cute.
She is from Sinner and The Hitcher too.
Yep, and she's also in Eight-Legged Freak. She plays this sheriff. She's in. I've seen her in a ton of things. She's been an actress forever. She usually plays like a milfy mom or something.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, but I really like Hellraiser Deader. I think that the only thing that I think is kind of stupid is the end. It's just like, what? Like how it ends. But I think it's good. I think it's pretty good. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Cool.
Then Hellraiser Hellworld. This one is weak. Super weak. Basically, the premise isn't even like good. Like if you look at the poster, I remember seeing this poster all the time at the video store. It's Pinhead, and there's a bunch of like green code written everywhere all over the poster, and it says "Evil goes online," and you're like, what? That never even happens in the movie. You know what I mean? It's basically just a rave with Lance Henriksen, and you feel bad for Lance Henriksen and Doug Bradley in this one because it's nonsense. It's like they tried to make like 6 movies in one. It's like part Saw, part meta horror, part Halloween. It just doesn't work. I think this is probably my least favorite Hellraiser that exists. I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then a trilogy of Cronenberg films. We have Rabid, 1977. For the show coming up, so I'll be quick on these. Rabid is a great movie. It's very cool 70s vibe. Really enjoy it. Then we have The Dead Zone, 1983. This is a film that I first seen parts of on Monster Vision back in like the 90s, and it was a movie that went way over my head and I didn't really get. And it wasn't like horror enough for me back then. Then I watched it as an adult when I picked up the DVD, and I was like, yeah, this movie's kind of overrated. Then I got it on Blu-ray and fell in love with it, and I watched it like twice since then, and I think it's a phenomenal Stephen King film. Love it. Do you like it?
I have never seen it.
You're weak.
Christopher
Walken is like so great in it. But yeah, I'm super high on that one. Love it. And then the final one we watched was Scanners. I actually watched those out of order. Scanners came out in 81, was before The Dead Zone. But yeah, Scanners, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think it's like probably like Cronenberg's most overhyped movie. It's kind of boring a little bit. I don't know. It's a lot of talking. I feel like they don't do enough with the Scanners. Obviously, the head explosion scene is like the creme de la creme. Like it's the what the movie's known for. Everybody likes that scene. It is a really good scene. But yeah, not a huge fan of the movie in general.
I see. Is that it?
That is it.
Oh, thank God. Okay. So now it is my turn. Alright, so, first up, as per my Survive 05, I watched Cursed, which is a Wes Craven flick, and to be honest, I don't remember a whole lot of this. I watched this a while ago, but I remember I enjoyed it and thought it was a fun time, and I remember it feeling like it was from the 90s still. Like, it felt like it was kind of stuck in the 90s, but I remember I had fun with it. I know some people don't really care for it, but I thought it was enjoyable for what it was, and I had given that one a 6.5 out of 10, but like I said, it's pretty loose in my memory right now. And then after that, I watched Holliston Season 2. I finished it up. I think I talked about that I watched a few episodes on the last episode, but I decided to just finish off Holliston Season 2, and I was sad because I finished off Holliston Season 2. But it was a pretty solid season. I think I like the first one maybe a little bit more, but this one did have some good memorable episodes. There's like a found footage one that's like mimicking the Blair Witch. There's one with Kane Hodder, one with Danielle Harris, and stuff like that. Some of the later episodes in it I didn't care for as much, but it's just sad because there's like the final episode has all these cliffhangers that have never been resolved, obviously, because there's no season 3, but so that was kind of depressing, but I enjoyed my time watching it. And then after that, I watched Popcorn from 1991, and this is for Slumber Party Massacre episode 2, which should be dropping soon. I know Lacey is editing it, and she said maybe the second week of March or so it shall be out, so look out for that, where we will give our thoughts. But I've said it before, I do enjoy Popcorn. It's a cool movie. Then after that, I watched The Conjuring. Just kind of threw it on because didn't feel like watching anything else that night, and that's from 2013, of course. And I also had just done the Annabelle films on Exploding Head, so I was in the mood to watch more from that universe. And The Conjuring, it's a great movie. It's got a lot of creepy moments that still hold up. I like the setting. I like the characters, like with the girls and stuff. Ed and Lorraine Warren, I think Vera Farmiga, and what's his name, Patrick Wilson, are great together. The only thing that I've never really cared for about this movie was the whole ending with like the exorcism stuff. It just kind of never really worked for me. It doesn't really scare me. I think I just don't find that stuff scary unless it's in The Exorcist. It's hard to really recreate that, and to me it just kind of loses steam with that. But other than that, I think it is a great movie. I still give it like a 9 out of 10. Then after that, I watched Hostel as per my Survive 05. And, of course, Hostel is Eli Roth's movie, and I've seen it multiple times before. I used to say I wasn't a big fan of it because I don't really like these depressing torture films, but this movie's actually not that bad, you know. I think I reviewed it on here before, too, but it doesn't focus so much on the torture aspects. You get a lot of story and character building, I feel, with Paxton and, what's his name, Josh, and their other friend and stuff like that, as they're kind of on their trip and they just want to bang bitches and have a fun time. So I do enjoy those elements, and I do think the parts when they are in the torture chamber are very effective, and the acting is all very well done. So I do enjoy that film. I give it like an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. I think
So what do you think of the closet homosexual thing going on? Did you ever really think about that before?
I mean, no, I never really put too much thought in it. I mean, I know there's that part where the dude touches his leg and it's a big freak out and stuff like that.
Well, I listened to a podcast recently called Horror Queers. I'm allowed to say that, right?
If that's the name of the podcast.
And see, that's a word that I never understood. Like, I feel like that word isn't offensive, but to me it sounds offensive.
Queer?
Yeah.
Yeah, because queer has 2 meanings, doesn't it? Can't it just mean you're a weirdo?
It means, like, odd, I think.
Yeah, oddball, but it also is, like, an insult to the gay community. I don't know, I've always
no, it's like,
really
it's like gay people use queer a lot, it seems like. Like, I always hear them say that. Like,
yeah, there's even a
gender
queer
and stuff like that. So I'm like, but to me, like, that was always as offensive as, like, the F word.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, in my head, like, I always thought they were the same thing. You know what I mean? They were both derogatory terms for gay people or things that suck, right?
Yeah, because you don't hear gay people saying the F word, but you do hear them saying queer, so it's kind of odd.
Yeah, apparently that one's not bad, I guess. Or at least it's not. It's like, maybe it's like
Not if
the
you're...
N-word, kind of like where they own it.
Yeah, and you can't, unless you're like saying like that guy's so queer, like that's rude. But if you're using it, it just depends how you use it, I guess.
Yeah. But anyway, they were talking about that movie. They did an episode on Hostel, which I was interested in because that you hear that a lot with Hostel and Eli Roth films, like is like how out of touch he is with like the way people talk and people like hate it. And I truly have come to the determination that people who didn't experience people talking like that just didn't know people that talked like that, but it did exist. And I think that it's regional. It's where it's A, the types of people you're friends with, and B, where you're at. You know, here I would say we were probably a few years behind the rest of the world because people talk like that well into my late teens in 2010, 11, 12 probably still talked like that. Now it's much less common, I do agree, but like all of my friends, they were exactly like Paxton and whatever his face is, like like especially the friends of mine that went to college afterwards, after high school, they were exactly like these people. Like they were the spitting images of like these dudes, you know what I mean? Even the stuff like, you know, Ollie pulling his ass out and stuff like that. Like that's stuff that my friends did all the time. It's fucking annoying, you know? That it was just I think that's why I always related to Hostel so much, is because like I essentially knew these people in real life. They were just ridiculous and stupid, you know. But I don't think that they were. None of them actually, like, whenever Paxton like literally calls someone like that, like you're faggot or something like that, you know what I mean? None of my friends were like hateful like that though, you know what I mean? They just said the word like to make fun of each other, like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you, gay or something like that? But they didn't, even if that turned out they were gay, they wouldn't care. It's just fun. It was funny to everybody, you know what I mean? It's like we would do gay shit to each other all the time, you know what I mean? Like pants each other or stuff like that, you know? And it's but it was like funny. It wasn't about like, you know, if you were actually gay or not. And it was, and if we had friends who were actually gay, and we would you know, not like them because they were gay. Like I feel like the hate that's in Paxton a little bit wasn't the same, but it's just like, you know, the talking like that was the same. None of us were hateful, and we had a bunch of gay friends and stuff like that, you know. But I wasn't as vocal as they were. Like I probably chilled out on that like a lot before they did. But I was older than a lot of my friends too. A lot of my friends were younger.
Yes.
I was like average 2 years older than the people that I hung out with for the most part. But anyway, they were talking about how, you know, that what's the lead's name?
The Josh. That one?
They were essentially taught, and Dave brought this up too, and it just went over my head my whole life, but it made me like the movie more. Essentially, Josh is a closeted gay.
Oh.
Because think about it, right? Like, he gets really mad when dude touches his leg, but then he like seeks him out later, and he touches his leg back to like let him know it's cool. But also when they're having sex in that room, like apparently Josh is like, and I don't remember, I'm just going off of the podcast what they were saying. Apparently Josh keeps looking at Paxton with like an I love you eyes, and they're essentially saying that Josh is in love with Paxton.
I am too, but
Jay Hernandez.
Yeah, I think he's really cute in this movie. I look up pictures of him, and he's one of those guys that I don't find attractive, like, regular. But in this movie, I do.
Okay. Well,
I guess I like
apparently,
Mexican.
that's the case where Josh is, and he doesn't want to have sex with the prostitutes and the girls and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And he doesn't want his homie to know because Paxton clearly is a bit of a hater.
Yeah. And the thing that, like, the worst thing is whenever people say, like, gay people aren't really represented great in movies, and, like, because the dude, the train guy is a killer, like, it makes, like, basically that gay people kill people. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, nobody's ever gonna take that and away from the movie. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna be like, oh, the gay people are a problem and they're killing. They're of course they're the killer. Nobody actually thinks like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I always hate when people make that comparison. Like, whenever they say, Buffalo Bill was, like, trans, so of course he, like, murders people and stuff like that. And I'm just like, no, come on.
Yeah. Keep her down, buddy.
Yeah.
Keep her down.
Buffalo Bill wasn't even really, like, trans. He liked to wear people's skin.
Yes. Yes.
He was a crazy person.
Yeah, I wouldn't even think about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then after that, I watched The Exorcism of Emily Rose as per my Survive 05. And this is one, and I think you said this too, that, like, I watched probably around when it came out, and I was super bored by it. And I remember it was kind of hyped up, like, oh, it's a great movie, it's like so scary and stuff like that. And I watched it, and I was like, this isn't a horror move, this is a courtroom move. And I was, a kid, and I was just bored, and it was a lot of dialogue, and barely really got any scares with Emily Rose and stuff like that. And I kind of, like, didn't ever want to watch it again after that. Then a few years ago, I remember I got it, and I think Watson's a big fan of this. It's, like, one of his favorite horror films of all time, and hearing him talk about it and stuff like that, I wanted to give it another shot finally, and I enjoyed it. And watching it this time around, I enjoyed it as well. It's not it's not going to be, again, like The Exorcist, to compare it to that, where it's all about the girl and the progression and stuff like that. It really is mainly courtroom stuff, and it's essentially about, like, the pastor trying to get out of trouble because he performed this exorcism and didn't get her any medical help because she didn't want it, and he convinced her that she was possessed and stuff like that, so she ended up dying. And it's kind of a story about him getting out of trouble and, like, science versus religion and things like that. But with that being said, it does have its creepy moments. Jennifer Carpenter does a good job as Emily Rose. She does some really good body contortions that are unsettling and stuff like that. And you also have a few creepy moments with the actual lawyer and the priest in general, where he kind of believes that the whole courtroom is, like, cursed. There's, like, an evil energy surrounding it, and creepy stuff kind of happens to the lawyer, who is skeptical about religion, and him as well. So I think it's a pretty solid film. I give it an 8 out of 10. Then after that, I watched The Backlot Murders from 2002. This is like a slasher I'd always been curious to check out because I think it's just a cool location, the whole backlot of Hollywood, and you got, like, the Psycho House and then all these other set pieces and whatnot that they're kind of working around. And I thought this one was okay. I think the acting is kind of atrocious, and just the way people are acting in it is really cringe at times, but I actually like the look of the killer. They're wearing this mask, and it's pretty creepy at times. Some of the shots I get of it I thought were creepy and effective. Like I said, I enjoy the setting where you're kind of walking around all these sets, and you do have the Psycho House in there. Has a decent amount of kills, and I thought it was a fun movie. I didn't think it was anything fantastic, but I still had fun with it. So I gave it a 6 out of 10. And then after that, I watched The Devil's Rejects as per my Survive 05. And
see, I think Hostel and Devil's Rejects I'll probably save for last.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to watch it. I don't care.
Dude, there's so many Asian movies I have to watch. Like, I have to start getting to some of them because I'm not even joking. There's probably like 20 or more, 25 maybe, that I need to watch.
I'm a little bit panicked because I feel like I've watched like 50 already, but since it's like the 2000s...
You watched 50?
Yes.
Holy crap, dude. That's insane.
I think maybe like 47. But
that's still insane. I'm at 20.
I know, but I started like right away and kept it going instead of like taking a break. So, but what I was saying was I almost feel like I've watched like all the popular ones, and there's still like so many more that I haven't seen. So it's kind of worried. Like I haven't really seen. I've seen a few of the Asian ones. I think I've seen like 3 of them, but there's a lot of other stuff I haven't explored. I know there's a lot on Tubi. I'm going to start going on there and looking through that. But I kept watching the ones that I have in my collection first. But yeah, Devil's Rejects 05, good move. It's one that I quite enjoy, and it has grown on me more and more over the years. Probably if I saw this, I didn't see this when I was like a kid. I probably would have hated it because I just wasn't into extreme stuff. But I mean, it's not even that extreme. It's just I just love the whole camaraderie of the family and the family aspects of it. It just never really gets old to me, so it's a good move. Definitely a contender. But
Devil's
yes. What? I am just saying.
A contender for what? Number 1?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Then after that, I watched Prom Night from 2008. I picked this up at Goodwill the other day, and I thought this movie sucked when it came out. And
it still does.
Yes. Yeah, it still, yes. And I've been curious to watch it again to see if it still sucks.
The biggest problem with it is that it's a slasher. It's actually better. In some ways, it's better than the original Prom Night, though. So it's like, I think it is a good film to remake because it's like the first one I'm not crazy about.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I'm not like my hate for it has nothing to do with the original because I really don't care. I think the original can be kind of boring at times, and this one at least like keeps a pace to it. But I think my main issue with this movie is the acting is pretty rough, I feel, from Brittany Snow, the main girl. And I think she played in, I think, that Would You Rather movie, and she was pretty good in it. But in this movie, I think she's not that great, especially when she survived this traumatic event, and anytime she's reacting to that, it just comes off as really phony and not that, I just don't believe her throughout the movie. A lot of the dialogue's kind of cheesy, too. It's a lot of just, like, high school's ending and stuff and sentimental stuff, but at the same time, that's kind of how I feel like me and my friends acted at prom and towards the end of the year, so it is a little bit relatable in that aspect. But it's definitely not a great film, and, it's a name-only remake. You can't really compare it to the original, but I kind of agree. Like, I feel like I would almost watch this one over the original a little bit because it's at least a little more fun. It's a PG-13 slasher, so there are killings, but they're very much off-screen. You just see a little bit of blood for the most part, and that's it. But yeah, it's definitely not great, but I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to, but it's still not that good. The ending is very kind of abrupt and stupid. So I think I gave that like a 5.5 out of 10. And then after that, I also watched Hellraiser Deader from 2005, and I forgot that I didn't think 2 movies came out from 2005 from the Hellraisers, because I think on the back of the DVD case, for some reason, Deader says 2004, but that's not true at all. It never came out in 2004. I double-checked, and they were both from 2005. So I decided to watch it, and I was dreading it because I was remembering being bored by this one when I marathoned them back in the day stupidly, and I think that was just because I wanted to jump off a bridge because I was marathoning the Hellraiser films. And this one, I agree with you. I think it is actually pretty good. It doesn't necessarily always feel like a Hellraiser film, but most of these sequels do not. But the whole knife in the back scene is grotesque and very bloody. They did a good job with just how bloody and disgusting it is. And that part where she goes to that apartment is super creepy. I did remember that from my first time watching it. I was like, oh, disturbing. It was like my favorite part of the movie, and it still is. And the main lead is good. You know, the acting's all good, the locations are cool, and it's actually a pretty decent film with a cool concept. So I think I gave that one like a 6.5 out of 10. And then after that, I watched Gacy from 2003. This is one of the ones I picked up when I went to that mall and went into that collectible store. And, you know, just another movie to watch for fun. And I enjoyed this one too. It kind of felt a little bit low budget, but that was okay with me. I like these serial killer films, and I don't know much about Gacy, to be honest. Like, I'm not really a big serial killer person to begin with, where I know every fact about them, so I don't know how accurate everything is, but I thought the movie was cool. I liked the main guy who played Gacy. I thought he did a good job. It was just an intriguing watch, and I just... What was I about to say? I have lost my train of thought. But it was a good move. Yes, Gacy. It had some moments that were a little bit disturbing and stuff like that, so I thought that was cool. But I gave it like a 7 out of 10, I believe. And then after that, last night I watched Saw Part 2, as per my 05 run again. And Saw 2, I like it. You know, people don't like it. To me, it's almost like the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 of the Saw franchise, where people are like, oh, it's so different and it's just such a step down. But I've always enjoyed it. I like the concept. I like the people being stuck in that house and trying to kind of find their way out and play by the rules and stuff and try to find the antidote. I think it's decent. I think it has some decent kills. Definitely nothing as great as what you get later on in the franchise, but I think this movie's okay. I know some people just think it's awful, but I've always found it to be just fine. It's definitely a step down from the first one, but I still think it's good. I give that a 7 out of 10. And then finally, last night I watched a movie called Anne, which I picked up yesterday at the Dollar Tree when I was with you, and that is from 2018. And it was about this old woman who is a little bit mentally ill, and she lives in this house alone with her dolls and her husband, you find out, passed away tragically. And so she's alone in this house, and her son comes to visit her every once in a while, and that's kind of it. There's not a lot of dialogue, and you know, when there is dialogue, it's pretty bad acting, so it's probably best for there not to be a lot of dialogue. But it's trying to be like disturbing and a little bit artsy, and it kind of fails. You know, you're pretty much just following this woman. It's all set in this one house, and you're seeing her do some weird stuff. I just recorded a video on it. I kind of compared it. It seemed like it was trying to be like The Visit in a way, but it just doesn't work. Nothing is really scary about the movie. They did have a few decent special makeup effects that looked realistic that I thought were cool, and the camera work was good in the film as well. You could tell they actually tried with that, but the acting was bad, and it was honestly kind of a bore fest, because they just didn't really have much to progress the story. And then there was like a twist at the end that came out of nowhere and wasn't even that relevant. So yeah, overall it wasn't that good, besides like some of the filmmaking was decent, but I gave that a 3.5 out of 10. And that is all the movies I've watched. I am done.
Thank God.
Buddy, come on, you're the one who talks too much.
No.
I sit here and I like wave my arms like, come on. Alright, come on. Come on, let's get into our featured review. Are you ready?
Let's get into it.
Okay. So, our featured review is a move that JP was passionate about reviewing, and it is called Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1. Yes. Alright, so I shall read a synopsis. It says 400 vs. 1 in a single take. Okay. In wait, is this even, yeah. Okay, yeah. In 1604, Miyamoto Musashi attacked the Yoshioka family at their dojo and defeated Master Seijuro and his younger brother Denshikiro in 2 duels. To save their reputation, the Yoshioka family decides to fight back with all 100 family members and hire an additional 300 samurai. Now Musashi sets out to defeat all 400 enemies in his most famous battle. Yes. So, this move is a move that is all shot in one take, pretty much. And it is a samurai, one samurai, versus 400. As they try to take him down, but he is a master and he shall not be taken down. So, that is literally the 77 minutes of the movie out of like an hour and a half, or maybe even less, maybe an hour and 20 minutes is, wait, that wouldn't make sense. Hour and a half, okay. But the whole movie is just this guy fighting other samurais. So, what did you think, buddy?
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I find, well, I was watching it, I kind of just put it on. I didn't even really pay attention to what the title of the movie really was. I was kind of like, crazy samurai move. I didn't even think about it. And I put it on, and then it starts, and then, like, the battle starts, and about 10 minutes go by, and I'm like, probably like 5 minutes more so, and I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. And I looked at the title, and it was like 400 versus 1. And then I Googled it, and it was like, this is a long take of a guy fighting a bunch of samurais. And I was like, oh my god, this is going to be the whole move. And I will say that made it easy to watch, kind of, because you didn't have to put much attention into it until they said stuff. But when they said stuff, it was mainly like, I think I've killed 70. Now I must kill 310 more. 300, I don't know math. But anyway. And it could, though, I think the biggest downfall with the film is that it uses CG blood, and the kills are very super just stupid. Like, he's just hitting them, and then blood splatters, but it doesn't really go anywhere, it just splatters in midair, and there's like no blood anywhere, and there's no dead people on the ground. I think if this movie was a total gore fest, and there was just real blood spraying everywhere, and people were like dead as heck all over the ground, it could have been cool and entertaining to watch, but after about 3 minutes, you're kind of over it. So, that's how I feel.
My biggest problem with it is it's just like, the reason that people don't do stuff like this is because it doesn't work. You can't make it work.
Yeah.
Because you're going to sacrifice quality for quantity. That is what this movie is. It sacrifices quality sword fighting for quantity. You have literal sequences of dozens of people running straight at him with their sword high above their head and getting chopped in the stomach in a row, you know what I mean? The quality is not there. The quality is just not there. And then on top of that, like, you have so many here's the thing. So many instances of the exact same choreographed scene. Mm-hmm. Tap him on the head with the sword. Do we see blood? No. 50% of the time we don't, 50% of the time we do. And when it flies in the air, it disappears. It doesn't land on the ground. There's like almost no blood on the ground for the first like hour of the movie or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's the everybody that he hurts scurries off screen because they don't want to get in the way of the fight. No, like at one point in the film, the bodies start to pile up on the ground. I'm like, oh, now they're doing it, you know. But like I mean, he could chop the guy's head off and they would scurry off screen essentially, because they need to be out of the way for the choreographed fight sequences. It was a cool idea.
Yeah.
And when you do an idea like this and you sell it on the idea, you got to make the idea work, because if it doesn't work, then it's all a waste of time. There's a reason nobody does it. It's because it doesn't work. You can't do this. It doesn't work. Yes. If you're going to CGI everything, then you have to have good CGI, and you have to have something actually happening. Like it's basically backyard wrestling. You know, it's fake. It's everything looks fake. Nothing looks real. Nothing looks exciting. Nothing looks entertaining. None of the choreograph work is to the bare necessities of it, to where there's really not that much movement is differentiated between the sequences, the long sequences, because they probably need to simplify everything in order to not have a screw up. So everything is bare bones and simplified as possible. All the movements, all the sword fighting, it's pretty much as basic as it comes. I mean, the best parts of the film is when the swords clash, and it's like, you know, there's a couple seconds of them actually, like, you know, hitting each other's swords and stuff like that, because you're like, okay, that kind of looks real a little bit. But everything else is just so underwhelming. It's probably it's the most disappointing movie I've seen this year for sure, because it's nothing like you expect. There's no arms being chopped off, no beheadings, no you know, slices down the chest, no, you know, legs being cut off or anything. Like, Monty Python is more violent than this. It's all bad pro wrestling is how I describe it.
Yeah, see, to me, this reminds me of me playing a video game, like Resident Evil or something, and the zombies start coming at you and the music kicks in, because there is, like the music keeps kind of changing throughout this, and then it'll go, like, quiet for a while, and then the music gangs back up whenever a fight begins again. It really reminds me of playing a video game, and then you, like, slaughter a zombie, and then they kind of dissipate into the earth because of the graphics and stuff like that. That is the best way I could describe it. And it's just over and over again, and then you think you got away from them, and then more come at you. And yeah, this was not, it's just not a fun movie to watch. Like, it could have been a fun time, but it just, because it was so poorly done, it wasn't. It had really nothing to offer. And like I said, after, you could watch it for 10 minutes and then turn it off and be like, okay, that's, like, I've seen the film, that's it. Like, there's nothing else you really have to watch. So, yeah, definitely not something that I shall ever want to watch again. Yeah.
It was a complete disappointment for me. I really didn't like this movie at all. It actually becomes painful to watch after 20 minutes. It's the exact same thing for so long. There's like a mini boss at times, which they could have done so much more with, man. Oh, they could have done so much more with it. It was a mess. I mean, I feel bad even reviewing this film, just because it's a mess. That's unfortunate.
Right. I mean,
this was a film to review, like, from Well Go USA, so, like, you know, sorry that we shit on it, but it's just not good.
Yes, I shall not pretend that it is. But I was going to say, I kept checking the time, and it goes slow because it's too much of the same. Like, it does not speed up the time at all, so... Yeah, like I said, this could have been cool. I mean, it's kind of cool watching it be filmed in one shot. That's, like, the only thing I could really give it, but what you're actually watching just isn't good. So, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Alright.
Not sure what we're going to do next week. Oh, did we rate it?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Alright, I would give this a... Did
you letterbox review?
Oh, no, I didn't. Hold on.
You're slacking today.
What? You're the one who keeps, you're like trying to speed it along. Okay, I have this one review, and this guy gave it half a star. He said, I don't even effing know what the hell I watched, but I do know that I want to watch it again with my friends as soon as possible. This movie is it's so effing incompetent that I am forced to believe that they tried to make it as bad as it is. The one-take fight is so fake and unprofessional. There's zero blood on the sword when a character dies. The people killed fall off screen, and you see them again like 5 minutes later. He kills the same people like 40 times, and it's not a race thing, I swear. You'll see it too. This literally reminds me of the crappy childhood sword fights I would do when I was like 6 years old. Everything looks so shitty and unprofessional that it legitimately becomes painful to continue laughing. My sides were aching for a solid hour after watching this, and I could not wait to see it again. What the hell? If you haven't seen this, keep an eye out for it. It's effing insane, and I loved every second of this dumpster fire, but he gave it a 0.5 star, and he wants to show his buddies this, so, I don't even know what to consider that review. I would consider that, not good. Let's see, this guy, let's see. Okay, this guy gave it 3 stars. Says, a really grueling film that initially comes across as a fun action movie with an infamous 77-minute one-take samurai sword fight. However, as you watch it becomes an experiment of monotony and desensitization of violence. The very low-budget filmmaking does leave a lot to be desired, and it isn't exactly an enjoyable experience, but an incredibly respectable one nonetheless. And yes, so ratings.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna drop my rating. I think I gave it a 4. It's not a 4. It's a 2.
Yeah, I think
2.5
I gave
maybe 2.5. I'll go 2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I had it a little bit too high too, probably 3.5 or 4, and I think I'm gonna give it a 2.5 as well, just because it's like, it's just not enjoyable. Like, it's not something that you're gonna want to sit down and watch. There's really nothing to it, just bad fighting. So 2.5.
All right, and with that said, that's gonna wrap up this one, bit longer one, honestly. And I'm not sure what we'll do next week. I mean, there's Tom and Jerry out there. There's some other, streaming films like I think Shudder's getting a bunch of stuff. So if we're opening up to be able to do everything, we have a lot more options. Anything particularly that you wanted to do?
No. I mean, I do want to see Tom and Jerry, kind of.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do that.
Alright, so I guess that's it for tonight. We will see you guys next time with another one, and peace out.
Bye.